individuals are looking for safe places to park their money in order for them to have an income when they retire. We have seen what has happened with the pension funds and how much individuals rely on these for that time when they're no longer working their 9-to-5 jobs. But today we will discuss how your pension fund is gone. We will also discuss how this is in fact a global plan. You came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. Let's get into the pension funds today, something that is clearly not being discussed even in the alternative news. This is crucial information. Let's begin with this right from the Supreme Court's own website. This is fairly recent information where we're looking at Tibble versus Edison International, and they're talking about the savings plan here. And essentially, they want to be able to, quote, protect the people. Let's get into a non-legal jargon version of this. Out of Armstrong Economics, this individual here, for those who don't know, was someone who predicted a few of the crashes, including that which occurred in 1987. It sets the stage to justify government seizure of private pension funds to protect pensioners. So what exactly could happen here is we could have a situation where they come in and say, look, we're going to protect you for your own good, and we are going to implement these measures. Whether it helps people or not, doesn't matter. It is sticking their hands into other people's business. When the economy turns down and things get messy, they are placing measures in place to eliminate money and physical dimension, closing all tax loopholes, shutting down the world economy with FACTA, and preparing for the final straw of economic totalitarianism, with the Supreme Court reversing its entire construction of the Constitution to impose a duty upon employers to ensure the 401k plans perform in a world where interest rates are going negative. Now, he's talking about a lot here. I just want to touch on a few points. I don't necessarily believe that these are my words here. This is this individual, but I have to agree with him in certain cases. We have this low interest rates and negative interest rates, and how are you ever going to keep up? And that is by taking more risk. The pension funds are at risk because, in fact, all of our money is put in there. That's what I talked about in my book, stating specifically that our money is interconnected with these stock markets, with the derivatives, with the hedge funds, with all of these risks that are being taken, the credit default swaps, and everything else. Whether you think you're invested in that or not, your pension fund is in some way connected. And they are also suggesting here that when the economy turns down, that they're going to have to step in. And what happens in all bailouts? Well, that is, in fact, that the taxpayer will have to foot the bill. For the next time, however, we have the bail-ins, something very different, but we need to look into it regardless. This is very crucial. So then you may say, that's never going to happen. They will never do this. Our pension funds are safe and secure. Let's get into some more information. We are looking at a shortfall in the pension funds, and this is out of CNBC. The gap at the municipal level will be in addition to the $3,000 billion in unfunded liability is already estimated for the state-run pensions, according to the research here. And they said what is yet to be seen is how this burden will be distributed between the state and local governments, and whether the federal government will be called upon for bailouts. That's right, the federal government will be there to backstop any problems. Have no fear. We can just give them control to everything, and they'll be there to help us out. The financial demands of the unfunded pension promises come as state and local governments grapple with years of falling tax revenue related to the recession. They'll never be able to make up that amount of debt that they've incurred, simply because the system itself is generating itself in a continuous amount of debt. It only self-perpetuates using debt. This is pretty amazing, but we'll never get there. They're going to have to continue to loot the pension funds all around the world. Look at what I wrote about in my book. I quoted Richard Duncan from the Dollar Crisis. If you like Mike Maloney's work, then Richard Duncan's is basically like a more advanced version. Definitely recommend reading that. Social Security is an unfunded pension scheme. He goes on to say that if a private company did this, it would be illegal, but because it's the government, it isn't a crime. They're able to use their schemes and put things off the books. So you and I have to put everything on the books, or that's called tax avoidance, or that's some sort of fraud. But they don't have to do that. They don't have to abide by any rules, in fact, and they're able to basically push things off into the future and do so, as far as I'm concerned, illegally. Let's look at this out of the SEC's own website. SEC charges top officials and investment advisor in a scheme to hide theft from pension fund of Detroit police and firefighters. You can go into the information for yourself. All I wanted to note from this is that this could definitely be done on the individual level, at corporations having their involvement in here. How do we even know that the money isn't being squandered already, and that an institution like the SEC or someone else isn't looking into it and protecting that? Your money is basically being put into these funds or having some sort of involvement with the derivatives in the stock markets and everything else. And what's happening to your money? Well, unfortunately, you don't know, and you don't have any control over it. There is, in fact, no transparency. This is very worrisome. Then we go into this article. Detroit's bankruptcy, the largest municipal case in history, has attracted wide media commentary as an example of the country's, quote, unsustainable public pension obligations. We're looking at these public pensions which can never be paid back. There is no money there for them to be paid back, and we're going to run into a situation here where the government is going to have to cut back. Now, you may think that has never happened, that never will happen, but let's fast forward here over to Argentina. Argentina moves to nationalize pension funds. Argentina's Senate on Thursday night comfortably passed a bill to nationalize the country's private pension funds in the final congressional hurdle for the government's controversial plan. They're going to do this around the world. This is a global policy where they need to rob from the individuals. If they have billions of dollars just sitting there, of course they're going to use it. They say, look, we'll put a nice little IOU and we'll put it back in the pile, and we promise to pay you back. We're going to do so. Look, we'll give you this government bond. Of course, it's dated 100 years into the future, but we haven't stolen your money. We're giving you this government bond in replace for your money. Don't worry. Don't riot. Do not engage in the civil unrest, in the civil disobedience. Don't do any of that. Just stay right there. Just stay put. Here's your food stamps. Here is your welfare. And yes, it doesn't really equate to what it did 5 years ago, 10 years ago. But as long as we give it to you, you're going to shut up. Let's look at this out of Reuters. Portugal's socialist promise deficit cuts without austerity if elected. That's right. More promises coming from Europe, coming from any of these politicians. When you have a situation where the government is in fact imposing all of this austerity, there are always going to be new individuals, new politicians coming out there and saying, we're never going to do what they did, just elect us. Look at what's happening in Greece. Unfortunately, as much as they may be trying and they're trying to do things, they are simply running this uphill battle and they're losing. Socialist economists promise or propose social security cuts. That's right. They're not going to give out as much as they once did. Now, whether you agree with that or not, the unfortunate part is that people are relying on this, and when they don't get the money that they did before, they're going to start to riot. This is a huge concern, and I know that it is for you as well. If you found this video informative, please give me a thumbs up. The pension funds are very serious business. Share this with your friends and family on your Facebook, Twitter, Google Plus, and every other social media I've never even heard before. Get the information out there. You can also do your own videos and share that out there. This is very crucial data. If you found this video informative, I know that you will find my book even more informative. And if you want to look through it, you can actually flip through the book at Amazon. They have a look inside feature, and you can flip through it on there and see if you like it. Take care.